I've read every book for people that have come on thus far. I don't know if I'll always be able to, but I think some of those books would have fallen to lower on the priority list if they weren't coming on the podcast. But some of those conversations that I've had in the books I've read have made it into the pages of the novel. So there's all this overlap to include this one. Brian Mora has a book called The Able Archers, and it talks about a nuclear exchange that almost happened between the United States and the Soviet Union in 1983. And there was one guy in the Soviet Union, an officer on watch that night, who was not supposed to be there. That's what shows up on their screen. And what he's supposed to do is launch back. And he has pressure from above to launch. It's the protocol, and he doesn't. Because he's like, this isn't right. And it was a glitch in their system that showed. It sounds fascinating.
He was just on Russell Brand's podcast, and he talked about his uncle and his father's assassination. Holy shit. His recall is amazing. His ability to just remember all these different pieces that were in play, particularly with the JFK assassination and Lee Harvey Oswald, and the fact that Lee Harvey Oswald was a CIA asset and that he had defected to Russia but it was a fake defection, and that all the different pieces that were in place that you could point to.
And those documents were just, I think it was, I might be off by a year or two, but I think it was 1999 when these documents were finally declassified. So well after the end of the Cold War. And, but things like that. So I read that book and had that conversation with this guy, and he's a really nice guy, great guy, been in the intelligence world his whole career, and that made it into the pages of this novel. So there's overlap, but Robert Kennedy has not been on the podcast yet, so I have not read that book, but I've been meaning to read it. It was really interesting to be in that part of the world, in that place, with that family. But yeah, it inspired this.
Old history.